We caught up with Thich Nhat Hanh during late afternoon rush hour on Capitol Hill in Washington. Shielding his eyes from the sun, he practiced his customary attentive so-called mindful walking to the Library of Congress to talk to members of Congress and others about peace in a world of terrorism. He said since 9/11, the level of hate and violence has gone up. He blamed America's use of force.
Using violence to suppress violence is not the correct way. America has to wake up to that reality.
That's not a sentiment you hear every day at the Capitol, nor is Nhat Hanh's recommendation to this bitterly divided Congress that its members practice what he calls deep listening to each other and gentle speech. Nhat Hanh became a Zen Buddhist monk when he was 16. His title, thich, means symbolically in Vietnamese that he's a member of the Buddha's extended family. During the Vietnam War, Nhat Hanh actively opposed the fighting, offending all sides. He developed what he called engaged Buddhism, going beyond meditation to campaign for peace, care for refugees, and help rebuild bombed villages.
And if you hear the bomb falling, you know that you have to go out and help.
Because of his anti-war activities, Nhat Hanh had to leave Vietnam. In the 1980s, he founded a Buddhist community in France and has spent most of the years since teaching, leading retreats, and writing. Nhat Hanh's message emphasizes simple practices, concentration on every activity, walking, breathing, eating, everything. He says this mindfulness leads to understanding the roots of suffering, which encourages compassion that can dissolve anger. On this year's U.S. visit, he led private retreats for several members of Congress in Washington and for police officers in Wisconsin. I asked him what Buddhism has to say to people of other religions.
It is the concrete methods of practice. We have the same kind of teaching, but in Buddhism, there's more concrete tools. There are ways to transform and to reduce the amount of suffering in our families, in our schools. We, as practitioners of transformation and healing, we know how to do it, how to help reduce the level of violence.
Are there some times when violence is necessary to protect yourself or your family or others?
If you see someone who is trying to shoot, to destroy, you have to do your best in order to prevent him or her to do so. You must. But you must do it out of your compassion, of your willingness to protect, and not out of anger. That is the key.
Can a person be both a Christian and a Buddhist?
Sure. There are many Christians who practice Buddhism, and they become better and better Christians all the time.
Nhat Hanh thinks violence in America has increased in recent years. He says one reason is too much production and consumption of the wrong kinds of things, movies and television, for instance, that stimulate craving and violence.
I think we have the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast, but in the name of freedom, people have done a lot of damage. And I think we have to build a statue of responsibility on the West Coast in order to counterbalance. Because the liberty without responsibility is not true liberty. You are not free to destroy.
The continuing struggle in Iraq triggered questions for Nhat Hanh everywhere he went.
I think America is now caught in Iraq, like in Vietnam, not very long ago. And you believe that search and destroy is the right path. But the more you continue that kind of operation, the more communists you have created. And finally, you have to withdraw. I'm afraid that you are doing exactly the same thing in Iraq. The only way for America to get emancipated from this situation is to